night, loves. So if you saw the post that I just dropped like 2 minutes ago, like legit 2 minutes, okay, it was like 15 minutes ago. Really, there's this, I was reading, listening to, good God, what's the book called? Rise as the Superman, something, I don't know, Stephen Kohler. And he was at this point where he was talking about big wave surfers. And there was this quote that just really stood out to me. And it was about the fact that like, people think that it's about like the size of something, like the waves specifically, that waves are measured, you know, by their size. And there was, you know, the first big wave surfer, who Buzzy Trent, who said waves are not measured in inches or in feet and inches. They're measured by the size of your feet or something like that. And it was like, boom, 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 because this is what happens to us, right? When we're being called to something, everybody that's, you know, all the onlookers, all the spectators, they think it's about like the analytics. They think it's about the, you know, the metrics. They think it's about like something that you can measure with, God, like that is outside of the control of your soul. They think that it has to be born of something that is, you know, some sort of a statistical analysis of the Instagrams and the TikToks and the YouTubes and all the things and you know, like email open rates and the blah blah blah. And then you got to do it like this and you got to do it like this and you got to make sure you have this in place and this in place and this has to be this way. Now, I myself, like, I love building my own website. I love learning these things. I study, you know, like fucking microphones and like the baby, like, you know, basics of like audio engineering, in so much as that I'm able to produce content at continuously up leveling, you know, levels. And so like, do I understand the need, the desire to know these kinds of things? Sure. If it turns on your soul, absolutely. And also there is a point when you are using all of these things that everyone else is telling you matters, and the things that, you know, these are the things that you need to measure in order to succeed, in order to see the result. There comes a point when you have to actually look at, okay, are those things actually working for me? Is what I'm using as a measuring stick actually working for me? And most likely it's not. If you're here with me, then it's not. You know it's not. You know that you know that you know you fucking know it's not. Except what happens is, because your fear, the size of your fear is so much greater, so much vaster, seemingly like impenetrable, compared to like worrying about such things as analytics and metrics and open rates and that sort of thing. If that feels a whole lot safer, that feels more accessible. It doesn't actually challenge you on the level that it would challenge you if you were to actually go in and look at why you're not already the person who has these things in your life, like why you are not already fully aligned with the receiving and the embodying and the holding of these things in your life now. And so I was on what was supposed to be a co-working session, but turned into just kind of like dropping in and just like, oh, like integration and connection session with 3 of my amazing fucking soul sisters. And one thing that came up for me was this fear that I've been holding. If you've heard me talk about this before, like I'm coming out of a 13-year freeze trauma response, and it was born of the loss of my grandmother, who helped raise me and was like my second mom. And once I started thawing that, all of the medical trauma of my childhood was like, oh hey, we're doing trauma healing. Oh shit, let's get in on this party. And so everything has been like boom, 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 the last year and a half, 2 years. No, I lied. It's totally untrue. 2.5 years. Good God. This is, and again, this is another thing that trauma does, right? You forget like all the things, you forget the things. Anyways, I've been doing this for a while. It's been a while, this level of trauma healing. And one thing that I've noticed from this thawing out is that I have had this fear, like I'm in this fucking fear of my own, like the power, like how actually powerful my primal self is. Now, if you've done practices with me, rituals with me, if you are one of my clients, one of my students, you're like, you are primal. Like, what are you talking about? Like that you are like all up in the primal and the body and all of the things and nature and elements and all of that, and movement, breath. Yes. And I am. And also, this is like a tiny fraction of my fully unleashed self. And I was talking about like what this fucking fear that's been coming up, like that has been like, holy shit. And the freeze response that I was in was, it was serving on in many ways other things. But one of the things it was serving to do was to actually mask this fear. And now that the thawing out, right, and of course it's always ongoing, but the thawing out has been going on for enough time that I'm able to really look at that fear in the face and be, and just like, okay, the fuck. And also noticing what happens. So the reason that we tend to and that we're taught to, right, like we're taught to look at and work with the things that everyone else is like, these are the things that matter. So the analytics, blah blah blah, the inches, the feet and the inches, right, like the size of the wave versus your fear of the wave, right? So we're taught to look at all these other things. Don't focus on the fear, right? Look at all of these external factors, like, oh, we're gonna look at, you know, whatever, just all the external shit like that I mentioned. And what happens is when we focus on that, we don't actually have to go in, like it's like we're avoiding poking the bear, because, and the bear is our fear. And it's because we know that once we poke it, the thing that's underneath the thing that we think it is going to also come to the surface, right? So the fear of like the actual depth of my own primal power, and how ingrained that is in me, and what would happen, then I get to go in, and once you poke the pear, the pear, you poke a pear, yeah, you poke the bear. What starts to come out after that is, and this is for me, so and there will be something similar for you, but in your own way. It may not like make any sense right now, but if you actually drop this in later, you're like, holy shit, this is what that meant for me. So poking the bear for me was like, okay, so that primal power, like fearing that level of power, like, oh yeah, sure, you know, we've all heard, and if you're in personal growth, conscious development, blah blah blah, you've heard like, yeah, you're, you know, like your thing, you're fearing your own power, blah blah blah, your own light, and blah blah blah, all this stuff, right? Not knocking the quotes, I'm just saying we've all heard all of the things. And also what's like, yes, that's true. And also the reason that people stay at that level and don't go into, okay, so what does that mean for me? Right? Like it's all well and good to say, oh, I'm afraid of my own power. Oh, I'm afraid of success. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of shining. I'm afraid of being visible. I'm afraid of all the, like being fully exposed. I'm afraid of speaking my truth. I'm afraid, like all the things that you've said, I've said, we've all said them. But what's underneath that? That's what we're like, that's what happens. Like when you start to poke the bear, you get to what's actually underneath that. And what was coming through today, and it's been coming through before, but I'm just like, yeah, but today I was like, no, this, pay attention to this. And it was this, that the fear. So what has been looking at the inches and the feet, like looking at the size of the thing and being like, oh, like I have to look at the size, I got to focus on all these things that everyone said, like blah blah blah, even though I know it's not true. Yeah, I'm going to focus there. Once I actually got down to the heart of the matter, what was happening underneath that, the fear of the wave, not the size of the wave, the fear was this really deep old abandonment, belonging, wounding. And coupled with my innate natural indigo creator, raging introvert, island self, like if you do like kind of like attachment style stuff, like total island, right? Coupled with that I was like, oh my God, if I step fully into this deep, like the depth, the prime, like the actual fucking depth of how much primal power I hold, that I would like end up like no one that I love, that I chill with, like none of them would be able to hang with me or would want to hang with me. And this goes into, and so usually when I get anything that looks like that, I'm like, yeah, I recognize that. And then that threat response, that freeze, that chronic threat response. So if you haven't heard me talk about other like trauma peeps talk about it, when something gets like trauma starts to get really encoded and it becomes this systemic thing, it can years, decades, intergenerational stuff, it can go into a freeze response. So like if we don't actually get to complete the fight flight response, it like initially, and it then gets like buried all up in us and encoded, over time, chronic, it becomes a freeze response where you get like stuck, like, you know, might look good on the outside, everything, like she's doing great, she's doing amazing, everything is good, but like inside you're kind of just like going through the motions. You're like, I'm here, I'm not really, but I'm here. Yeah, it's cool, right? And you can do all kinds of things. I've done all kinds of things when I was in this full-on freeze response. And oh, good God, tangent. Okay. Damn it. Fuck balls. Okay. Yep. Totally lost it. But point being, oh yes. So when you're in these kind of things, like it can kind of mask and you kind of touch in on what you know is actually going on, the deep stuff, but you don't allow yourself to really, really excavate all of the things in all of the ways. You're kind of like, I see that, and you'll like, you'll excavate a little bit, right? Like just it's kind of like an orgasm that you're doing it just to get a nut, like just to hit, like just to get that one hit, versus having this like full body headboard banging, make you see God, internal, external, energetic, full on cosmic orgasmic experience, right? Like there's a difference, there's a difference, there's a fucking difference. So this is a difference between kind of like touching upon the excavation and like going all the way in. So I was touching upon it and I could see it and I could taste it, but I couldn't like taste it. And so today I tasted it, and it was this really, really, really deep, profound awareness of how much, like how fucking annoying belonging wounds are to me when it comes from me. Like I can coach on it, I can teach on it. I'm like, yes, I can hold it. I'm like, oh yeah. I like the compassion, like the understanding, like it's all there. But when it's in my body, I'm like, the fuck, like this is annoying the shit out of me. And so today I was like, okay, so what's that about, right? Like what like that deep annoyance? Because when there's like, if you're that annoyed about something, especially when it's about other people, but most especially when it's about you, it's a trigger. Like there's some sort of a charge, and then that means that there's a portal, there's some sort of medicine there for you. And so today I was like, okay, we poked the bear, the bear's poked, the bear is alive, awake, is no longer hibernating, the bear is like in my face, and the bear is like, okay, like, so what are you going to do about it? And what really came through was how much my encoding around belonging and abandonment wounds, how they make you weak and needy. Now, if you recall, I, and like you, fucking wild ones, creators, messengers of the Most High, like the raw, the gritty, like we want the depth, we want like, oh, none of that superficial shit, like we want to go all the way in and talk soul stuff. Don't talk to me about, oh, like, and this happened today. I'm like, no, like, fuck no small talk. We're like, get all the way in there, like no matter what, that's what we want, like that's who we like. Yes, we want that full expression, which means we also crave a lot of freedom. Like weakness and neediness, they do not fit with our idea of freedom, of liberation, of being able to have the space that we need to create and to love and make love and to exist and to like receive like the power of transmission, of being the portal for God, art, and soul, like in all the ways, on all the levels, every single day. And so when you come to these things, right, like weakness, neediness, and I also hear from a lot of my clients, and I've had this encoding myself, that if you get like too much in your, all up in your womanhood, right? Like if you're female identifying and you're like, yeah, feminine, yeah, there's a lot of like weakness and neediness encoded that, and then underneath that, like you keep going, it's dangerous, right? Dangerous to actually allow yourself to go all the way in that, right? And so this, like when you get into these spaces, when you're actually willing, uh, when you're willing to poke the bear, which is a practice in and of itself. Which is why we practice, right? Of course, this is why we practice. And if you're not practicing every day, then it's really hard to actually, when these moments come up, when your body, when your soul offer you these things, it's really fucking hard to actually poke the bear. And then, when the bear turns around, is like, what the fuck? And you're like, oh, okay, let's do this, right? It's hard to poke the bear. It's hard to see the bear, that the bear is there. Then it's hard to go up and poke the bear. Then it's even harder to actually, when the bear turns around, to not peace out, tuck tail, and run and be like, just kidding, I'll come back in a year, right? To actually stand toe to toe with that bear and whatever that bear, that medicine, that portal's offering up to you in the moment. Which is why we practice, right? Day to day. This is why we practice. If you're not practicing every day, then it's really hard to actually see the bear, poke the bear, and then stand face to face with the bear. And on an aside, if you are not in Recalibrate, new mixtape drops next week. Go to joinrecalibrate.com. The daily practice, 10 to 20 minutes practice, 20 to 20 minute practices, because I know we don't have all fucking day, every single day, to be in like deep practices. And so sometimes you just need that like shorter one. So go to joinrecalibrate.com. This drops next week. We have live wild nectar ceremony if you join by Tuesday. So make sure you go join and get in on that. Because if you want to see the bear, poke the bear, and stand face to face, toe to toe with the bear, you've got to actually be in the practice. And so what's been coming through, like I've been allowing this to integrate and percolate, right? Since this is, I don't know, what time is it? I don't know, whatever. I have no idea what time it is. So it's like 4, 5, 6 hours ago, whatever. So I've been in the space, right? I'm like, okay, all right. Like I'm feeling it. I'm working it. I'm alchemizing it, and I'll do some sex magic after like tonight to really like let it sink in, like get into my bones. And the very, man, the interesting thing here is that this, like what was really coming through was that I haven't been doing my job. Like I haven't been speaking this into truth, into existence enough to allow you to see it in yourselves, so that you can allow your people to see it in themselves, and on the ripple effect, right? Because that's what we do. When something comes through, if you're a messenger, right? You are, if you're with me, right? Like you're a messenger, you're here because you have a message. The medicine is burning a fucking hole in your soul, and you've got to get it out at the next level. The love after that, boom, 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 ad infinitum, amen, amen, for the rest of your fucking life and beyond, right? Rest of your earthly life and beyond. So you have the message, you have the message. But if you're not doing the work to see, poke, stand toe to toe with the bear, and then actually allowing that to move through you at the next level, that calls your people, you hear me say this, like I'm calling your gorgeous ass to the fire. Call my ass to the fire, all of our asses to the fire. But I haven't been doing my job at the next level that I've been called to do it, which has meant that I've gotten bored. Because whenever, and this is a whole other thing, I'm gonna drop a training on, whenever you're bored with your message, with the work that you're doing, like if you, like it's soul work, but it's not, because it's, what happens is when your soul has evolved, but your work is still like operating at your last evolution of soul, you're going to be bored. You're going to be bored as fuck, and you're going to be wondering what is happening. People you're working with, shows you're doing, projects you're dropping, like gallery openings, whatever it is, you're like, what the fuck? You're like, I was so sad. This was good. I was satisfied. What is happening? You get antsy in your own skin. Like you don't even know how to like be in your own body. You're wondering why, like you stop messaging because you're just like, you're bored with the messaging. You don't understand why you're bored. Like all, like, yeah, this is a full on training in and of itself another time. But suffice to say, I was feeling that boredom, but I was just like, I hadn't touched in completely. Like I knew why I was bored. Soul had evolved. Work and messaging hadn't caught up with that next level of soul. And I was talking to my mentor about this in a different capacity, but about this, like this leveling up in the, like, oh, like like, what's the thing? And I knew fucking knew, right? Like the things that needed to be done. But I had to actually like let my body catch up with my soul. So if your body, your nervous system isn't in a place where you can actually hold, like you don't have the capacity, the grounding, the expansiveness in your nervous system, you haven't actually laid down like new neural pathways to and encoded around this next level of soul that your consciousness, your soul is already evolved to, then you won't actually take action. You will stay in the same place that you've been over and over and over again. You will start to doubt yourself. You'll start to doubt your message. You'll start to doubt your medicine. You will go back into thinking that the size of the wave is what matters. And so you will hire all kinds of technical, or I should say like kind of tactical, not like tactical, like fight tactical, or combat tactical, but tactical, like how to crush the YouTube algorithm, how to how to increase your your email open rates, how to get booked on all the podcasts. Like you'll go into these tactical things and you'll convince yourself on some level that that's what matters and that that's what's actually going to get you where you want to be, except it's not, because it never has before. It's not going to do it this time either. Like, spoiler alert, it's not going to work this time either. But until you actually create that, you expand the capacity within your body to catch up with where your soul has already gone and evolved to, you will continue trying to do the tactics, meaning you'll continue working on the size of the wave rather than actually allowing yourself to acknowledge your fear of the wave and then see the bear, poke the bear, go toe to toe with the bear. Any questions? Any questions? That was like an abrupt, hard stop. Any questions? Let me know all the questions, anything at all. While I put on BlissTex, DCT, it is the best. If anyone has vegan, full-on vegan company that works as well as BlissTex DCT, you hit me up, because I have been searching for over a decade and I have not found any. But you hit me up. All right, I don't see any questions coming in. I know there's a lag here, but nope. All right, so again, I want you to really, I invite you to drop this into your body. And if you're like, this kind of made sense, but I'm not quite sure it made sense, but it kind of did, but they're like, there's kind of like this, like a little twitch, right? That's a little twitch that's happening. That feels like, and it tastes like right, it tastes like truth. Then I invite you to watch this again and again and again, and really, really allow this to percolate and alchemize in your own body. And then start to ask, like, go into the inquiry, start to journal this stuff out. Okay, so what's here for me? What's the medicine here for me? What's the fear? Like, where have I been focusing on the size of the wave, and what is the size of the wave for you, right? Like, what's that tactical thing that you've been working on and focusing on? And then what's the fear of the wave? Like, what is the fear of the wave? Where am I holding that fear in my body? And how have I been avoiding that fear? And what am I using to avoid going into that fear? And then really, like, once you've located that fear in your body, start to open into inquiry with it. It might take a day, it might take a month, it might take however the fuck long it takes. It will take however the fuck long it takes. And then really asking and holding space to receive and to listen to that fear. Okay, what are you here to show me, right? And so you notice that bear, and then you start poking it, and you do the daily practices. Don't fucking start like this is what happens. People poke the bear and then like and they don't do the practices, right? And then you end up like 10 steps back from when you started. So you got it, like, and this is why, and I've heard this from people, like, they've actually told me, like, yeah, I can't work with you because I'm not willing to go that deep. I'm not ready to go that deep. So I mean, hey, like, that happens. We've all been there, right? And also, like Will Smith said, and I will say this quote like to the day I die, but if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I tell this to you, I tell this to myself every time I notice that I'm like, I'm getting ready to get ready. Fuck, then like I'm already losing that day. Like I've lost that day. I've lost that day, right? And I know it, and fuck, I know it. And some days I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna lose today. I'm just gonna do it, right? And then most days though, like that's not the intention, that's not the desire. So if you are not ready, then asking, journaling, adding this into your inquiries. Okay, so why am I not ready? What is it that I'm telling myself as to why I can't do this yet? Do this now? What needs to happen first? Where am I creating a reality loop and a catch-22 saying that this needs to happen? And then once that happens, then I'll go all in. But of course, I mean, I can't go all in until this happens. But I mean, I can't do, so then you create this reality loop where nothing ever shifts, nothing ever changes, because you've set yourself up to not be able to move forward. So like if you're feeling like you're not ready to go all in and poke the bear and then actually be able to stand toe to toe with it, and by not standing toe to toe, like you're not ready, willing, or able to do the practices, right? To be in the practice, right? So whatever it is for you, if you're with me, then like you know it's got to be about the body. It's got to be about like really deep working on the wounding, the encoding, the patterns, the trauma, like all the things, the systemic, the ancestral wounding, all of the stuff that has brought you into this moment, into the gap, into the fear of the wave. And you've got to be willing to do that on a regular basis, daily, dare I say, and but definitely on regular. So yes, so journal on all that, and then let me know what comes through for you. You can comment below here. You can find me on all the places. And by all the places, I generally mean YouTube, Instagram, and my email list, or on my website. You know, everything's at Nikka Karli. Find me, love me. I love you too. Let's play in the depths. That's all I want. No small talk. If you see me, if you've ever done, if you've been with me when I was teaching on stage or retreats or what the fuck ever, I'm like, yes, let's go in. I'm like, but I'm not available for small talk. Don't do it. I suck at it. I stand there like this awkward little, alien being, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like I do not get it. But if you're ready to go into the depths, hit me up. Let me know what comes through for you after you do the journaling. And if you want to work with me live next week, I mean, you're getting this, like the training is going to be bananas. We are going all in. Like this is full on me, wild nectar. We're going into ceremony. So this is like soul vision quest. We're going super fucking deep. Like bring your journals, bring the projects that you're working on, get ready to actually be shifted on the ceremony call, right? And the ceremony is it's a live training, it's a live ceremony. It's always a training, but it's a live ceremony bonus if you enroll in Recalibrate by Tuesday. So you have a few days left, but you have to be in by Tuesday to have access to the call on Wednesday the 1st. I think those are the dates. Anyways, it closed, your live call ceremony access closes on the 31st, which I think is Tuesday. And then the call is on Wednesday. Those days of the week might be wrong, but the dates, the 31st and the 1st, that's what, those are correct. That's correct. The days of the week might be wrong though. But yeah, so go to joinrecalibrate.com if you're ready. If you're ready to stay ready, then join me. And this is, fuck this mixtape. I'm just saying, you want this mixtape. You want this mixtape and you want this ceremony. So I love you. Hit me up with whatever comes through for you in this journaling. Let me know if you have any questions on any of the things. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. Always, always, always have an amazing, beautiful day or night, wherever you are in this amazing fucking world of ours. Stay safe. Oh, love all up on yourself. Love all up on your magic. And I will talk with you soon. As always, here's to your untaming. Bye, wild ones.